Hi, Zainabu.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
I can't see you.
Well, I don't believe my video should be on. I didn't take it off. I
Ah,
unfortunately took it
okay.
off, but I can. It said stop video, but my video is it's meant to be on. It's not
Eh,
controlled by me.
Oh, so you can't join by video.
I did my video is on, so I don't know why it's not showing because I'm not
Is it in
controlling
the
the view.
is it in the camera or
No, I don't believe it's the camera.
stop
Uh,
video? No.
but I can log out and log back in.
Probably since we have a few minutes, you can try
All
and
right,
see.
right. I'll do that now. I'll leave and I'll come back.
Hi, Stanley.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Very well, thank you. A pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
It is well. It's a privilege. Thank you for the honor. Really
No
appreciate it.
worries. Where are you joining from?
From my house.
That's a good.
Yes.
Yeah. How's everything? How's the situation keeping you?
Well, so far, so good. You know, yes, it's affecting everybody, but we're very grateful for the privilege that we have. We just seem to be, yes, we're in a blessed position, so we have to be grateful for that.
Oh, it's good. It's good to
Yes.
hear because quite a lot of people have been affected negatively.
Absolutely. When I hear about stories, I'm quite shocked at how it affects people. But so we tend not to, just for the grace of God, we tend not to talk too much about the wins we're getting. But we let people know that there's hope. You know, we're doing
Yeah, you focus on the positive side.
exactly. So it'll be good for us to have a different conversation later on about what we're working on, the wins that we're getting in this situation, and share it. You know, because people
Yes,
need to hear the positive news. Just as it's as bad as for some people, it's been very, very good for some people.
yes, that would be good. It would be good to catch up sometime and
Absolutely.
explore some synergies. And there's quite a lot of opportunity coming up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially now we got the recession and the Brexit and the other challenges ahead.
Yeah, challenges will always be there.
But they make us stronger.
They make us stronger, and you know you're progressing. Once you overcome one and you're still there, you know you're progressing.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's just a few minutes and we got people joining us.
No problem. Are you working from the office or?
No, I'm from home. I've been working from home for the last 5 months.
Yes. Same here. Yes.
And I don't plan to go back until next year.
Good.
Because we so many things happening and lots of uncertainty ahead.
Absolutely.
Better. And we are enjoying working from home, close to the family.
You know, life has changed. Life has totally changed.
Yeah.
So I know next time I tell the madam I have to go to South Africa. She says, really? But 5 months you didn't travel. You really have to go? Oh, amazing.
It's funny because now people. Oh, let me just, one speaker is trying to join.
Zainab is back again.
Hi, Zainab.
You're on mute. Hi, can you hear me? I'm speaking now.
I can hear you, but the sound is not very clear, and I can't see you.
I don't know what's happening.
Oh. Try your speaker again and see.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you a bit better.
Okay.
Can you check if your camera is connected?
My camera is connected. Everything's fine from my setup. So I'm not sure. I'm stopping my camera and I'm starting it again. And it's still not coming up.
Oh.
All
Okay.
right, finally,
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we can see you.
Yes, yes.
Finally. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? How are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Great, it's my pleasure.
Just a few minutes and then we can say like 2 minutes and then we can start.
Great. So will you be recording the session and sharing it anywhere? Yeah, this is what I just
Is that
want to
okay?
understand a little bit of context, what you'll be doing.
So normally we record the session and then we make it available on demand on YouTube, and we stream it on Facebook. And after the discussion, we do normally write a summary report on key highlights. So if you, I will share with you some of the key highlights from the speakers and the keynotes, key takeaway. We do a bit of summary report.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So during the COVID times, you've kept busy having conversations all about diaspora.
Yes, that's what has been keeping us. Yeah, because it has been a tough time, and we thought the best ways is to support people, providing them with the best practice, latest guidance, and to keep them going.
Yes, of course.
But beyond that, also we do mentoring, and we do masterclass for businesses that have been affected by COVID-19, and to help them with the managing change, transformation, pivoting, and then
most of your activities are based in the UK, are they, or do you also do on the continent?
At the moment is the UK. This program is supported by Innovate UK, which is the government.
Yes.
So what we are doing is part of the government response to support the community. Yeah, so it's a 6 months program. Hopefully, at the end of the year they can extend it, but we sign up for 6 months for quick response and the recovery for the business.
Such an interesting this will be the most unusual 6-month period, because everyone's charting their way and finding, what works. Everything's gone remote. So all the networking and all of the kind of advocacy that you do must have taken quite a slightly different route compared to what you were thinking about when you clearly secured the funding.
Yes, there have been quite a lot of daily shifts. Things has been shifting on a daily basis, changing government policies, and especially at the beginning, quite a lot of things were very challenging. You can only plan today, tomorrow the government suspends certain things, and then the next minute other things changes. Then it was just reacting on daily trends.
It's so interesting you say this. I was just having a conversation with a colleague of mine about, this idea of the exempt list and which countries are on or off.
Yes.
And how that decision comes about and how that information is shared with people. So for example, today, Switzerland, Jamaica and Croatia are joining this exempt list. So people that are going or coming from those countries have to quarantine for 14 days. Whereas a week ago, it was France and a couple of other countries. But unless you're coming or going to those countries, you don't really get to find that information out, because it's accessing information in COVID times. It's so interesting, I also find. Someone should write something about this. How do you engage and understand government policy during this time?
To be honest, it's not the right time at the moment to travel.
Yeah.
Because there's so much uncertainty. Like people now, you go for a holiday, the next minute you are told, oh, we're going to put a restriction. So you come back quickly.
Yeah. But, so on the one hand, it's not quite, like you say, the right time to travel. But on the other hand, you are encouraged to put money back into the economy, especially the tourism industry, which is hugely affected by COVID. So they're still encouraging people to go out, especially to, neighboring countries like in Europe. But then again, you go out and then you're told, hang on, things have changed. Come back on quarantine. So there's a lot of mixed, conflicting messages.
Yeah. Hi, Ashiedu. Hello, how are you? We can't hear you. Oh.
How are you? I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not so bad. Good to see you.
Same here. Hello, everybody.
Hi, good.
I'm Madam Chile.
In the UK time zone. Good afternoon, good evening.
I think it's 5 minutes past. Probably we can start. We got quite a good number of people. So people are joining up. We got 150 people sign up. But so we just can start so what can I do here? Let me share my screen.
Okay.
So if you can see my screen, just a bit of a PPT in terms of summer. So thank you, everyone. We got 2 speakers probably joining on the West, but in the interest of time, we can start and then hopefully they'll catch up where we are. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to One Africa evening discussion on, today we'll be focusing on UK African Diaspora, looking how we can unlock the potential and the participation in the economy. So this discussion is part of innovated funded project that we are running for the last 6 months to support BME and African communities in the UK in response to COVID-19 impact in the society. So just a bit of introduction. My name is Eugene. I'm your host today. I'm the co-founder and CEO for SSD Consulting and director and the chair for One Africa Network and the CEO for African Business Chamber in Birmingham. I'll be supported by my colleague Dennis Aguma, who's a lecturer at Birmingham City University, and also a co-chair for One Africa and also a board member at the African Business Chamber. So before we start, just a bit brief about One Africa Network. In summary, we are a membership-based social development organization that focuses on issues that affect Black and African businesses, entrepreneur and the professional. We do it in many ways through promoting entrepreneurship, innovation, excellence, inclusiveness, sustainable economic growth. We work in many ways through research, advocacy with various stakeholders, especially influencing policies and other aspects. We also provide consulting for businesses and government and provide capacity development such as training and masterclass. So we do our work in many ways, ranging from discussion forums, social networking, business conferences. However, with COVID-19, all our work has been live discussion like this one, either through Zoom or various video conferencing. But we hope once the situation improves, we will have hybrid services, including face-to-face and also live discussion. So over the last 1 year, we welcomed quite a lot of speakers from all walks of life. This is just a few of them. I think we've welcomed around 200-300 speakers, experts who to share their perspective, insights, and the experience. And some of them you can see they are very they are popular, but you might have come across them. So they've been on our platform to share various ways on how our community can improve, respond to COVID-19 impact, and also transform as we look forward to the new economy. So today's discussion I'm sorry, I think there was an error here. So the discussion today, we are looking at the African diaspora in the UK. How can we unlock potential and the participation in the economy? This topic was raised on the backdrop that we continue to see the African community in the UK continue to struggle. Their contribution in the economy remain insignificant, not well appreciated, or some of the work are being done are not being showcased. At the same time, we find quite a lot of challenges. Communities not collaborating, not accessing opportunities available to support them to grow and excel and thrive in the economy. So we've prepared a few topics that we're going to go through one by one. Hopefully we'll be able to break them down and take some Q&A session, Q&A question at the end of the discussion, and I will encourage the people on the call to submit their questions so that we can go through them at the end of the discussion. So to answer some of these topical issues we have on the agenda today, I'm delighted to be joined by our first speaker, who's the Councillor Ashiedu Joel, who's elected member for Leicester City Council and an executive director at the Derbyshire Healthcare, NHS, and she has other things. Probably she'll introduce herself. Secondly, we are expecting Dr. Winston from, he's the Learning Development Project Manager at DFIT. And thirdly, Bayo Adejala. She's a trustee at the Loyal Voluntary Services in London. Very successful woman who has been received so many awards, especially in the tech industry. Fourth, we have Stanley Oswedi. I hope I've pronounced it right. He's the CEO of Nigerian Investment Gateway. So my assumption, you are championing investment between the UK and Nigeria. And fifth, we have Tommy Tope, who's the CEO for TRAS Consortium, and finally Zainabo, who's the communication in chief at Mo Ibrahim Foundation. So without wasting time, before we go into the discussion, probably I'll give you 2-3 minutes to introduce yourself, give a bit about your background, and if you can probably just shed some light how COVID-19 either has affected you, either positively, what has been the experience in the last few months, the last 60 months. So probably if I start with Ashiedu, probably can go by the line. Ashiedu, welcome, and please introduce yourself and give a bit of background about yourself and some of the amazing work you've been doing in the last 3-4 months.
Thank you very much, Eugene. Good evening, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. I can't see anybody because of the screen, so I am assuming that everybody can see and hear me. So as Eugene said, my name is Ashiedu Joel. I am based in Leicester, and I am one of the elected member city councillors in Leicester City, although I'm not on this forum today in the capacity of a city councillor. I am also a non-exec director at the Derbyshire Healthcare Trust, and again, I'm not here in that capacity. I am the founder of Ashioma Consults. I also act in other capacities as a community advocate and advisor, and wear several other community champion hats, as I like to call them. So my work really traverses a very wide range within the community. So from the business, the consulting and training side of my work, right through to the community side, where I listen, support, and also advocate for a number of initiatives. One of them, which is very close to my heart, is my work within the domestic abuse arena. And I operate it from a faith and a youth perspective, because there is quite a lot of myths around the Black African or the ethnic community and how we respond and how we understand things like abuse and trauma. I am also involved in initiatives around health inequalities, but this is purely from a personal perspective and interest. So I think I'll just stop it there briefly for now, so that somebody else can have a go. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome, Asiedo. Great to have you again. And
thank you very much.
Look forward to learn from you. It looks like Winston and Bayo are yet to join, so I'll probably go straight to Stanley. Stanley, also, if you also can take the stage and give us a bit on overview in terms of who you are and some of the amazing work you've been doing in the last few months. And
thank you very much. Thanks for having me and giving us this opportunity to speak on as a panelist here. So my name is Stanley Oswide. I'm the, even though they said I'm the CEO, I was the CEO at Nigeria Investment Gateway, but now the Chief Strategist Officer. My chairman is also the joint CEO. Because I've also moved over to run the African Investment Gateway Group, where I'm the chairman and the CEO of that venture capitalist company that we just set up at the moment. So I wear many hats. I'm also a director on the British International Institute for Leadership and Management, because we strongly believe you could have all the right tools, but without the right leaders in organizations, things might not go the right way. So I'll tell you briefly about the work we do at Nigeria Investment Gateway. We source businesses from Nigeria that are looking for investment. Most of them tell you they're looking for investment. They're far from ready for taking international investment. So we work with them. It could range from 3 months to 6 months where we get them investment ready, depending on what they're looking for. We work with their governance. We work with their structure. Help then bring them to the table where they're truly investment ready to take on the investment that they're looking for. And we help them source that investment and match them with the investors as well. On African Investment Gateway, we've just set up a venture capitalist organization that we want to, from our experiences, the other countries in Africa, Nigerians don't like to believe that, but the other countries in Africa that needs investment as well. So we work on the African Investment Gateway to do what we're doing in Nigeria, we also do in Africa at the moment. For example, this morning we were speaking to a company in Uganda, in Angola, sorry, that we've been working with for the last 6 months. They're looking for investment into the fintech business, and we're just about to bring them to investors next month. So it's taking almost 6 months of work to get them to the stage where they are right now, where we can now present them to an investor to pitch. So that's the work we do. At the moment, we're persuading people to invest. So when we talk about investment, people think, oh, it's money. No. Your time is the most precious thing you can invest in other companies. So we're persuading people to invest their time, their expertise in businesses right now. With the COVID thing happening, you have more time to invest because most of us is cut down on our travel time. So what are you doing with all of those times? You can invest that in other companies right now. And people are doing very well, investing time and coming out with equity in businesses because your expertise is even worth more than the money itself. So I'll have to have a conversation with other people that think, how can I invest my time or my expertise in companies that we could find you and match you with companies that you can do that with. In partnership with SSCG, we can work with you to do that. So that's all I'll speak about for now. You can get some information from us later on through SSCG as well.
Thank you, Stanley, for that brief introduction, and good to hear that you are heavily involved in championing investment between UK and Africa. Also, I'm a champion for export is great under the DIT. So one of the key areas that I'm very passionate is to see how both UK companies and diaspora continue to invest in the African economy and create an opportunity, and also for UK companies to create a new channel for growth within the African market, and also tap into so many emerging opportunities. So if I go to Zainab also, Zainab, welcome, great to have you. So it will be good also if you can give us a bit brief about who you are, what you do, and some of the amazing things you've been doing in the last few months or years.
Great, thank you. I hope you can hear me well. I think one of the attendees mentioned that they couldn't hear me properly, so I'm speaking directly into the mic. I'm here, Zainab, Nigerian citizen, British citizen. So I'm here with my African citizenship and my diaspora hat, not in my other professional capacities. I'm the organizational lead for communications at the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. Some of you may know this organization. It's a think tank focused on African governance and leadership. I'm responsible for the chairman, Mo Ibrahim's communications and the communication of the foundation at large. So that's traditional online and broadcast media, social media dissemination, and stakeholder engagement. One of the projects that that I spearheaded over the last 2 years, it's an exciting initiative called the Now Generation Network. And it's a youth initiative that really looks at a coalition of young and mid-career African professionals that are committed on the continent to moving the development agenda forward. And I hope over the course of our conversation, I can cite some of the fantastic work that African citizens have been doing in response to the COVID pandemic. I've also worked on the Ibrahim Index of African Governance and research projects. So I've worn quite a number of hats at the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. I am a non-executive board member at the Book Aid International, which is instead of giving money for aid, we give books for aid. Again, I'm not wearing that hat today. I'm a lover of books and reading, and I actively network on the literary scene. So I think getting books, reading, international development in one bucket, and using my communications expertise to let the world know all the fantastic work that the foundation is doing and all the other organizations that I'm involved in are doing is really what I spend my day-to-day doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab, for that brief. Yes, I can hear you are doing amazing work, and I know Mo Ibrahim has been a huge champion, especially in governance in Africa. And he's a very respected person within the continent and in the UK. So great to have you and to learn more. So I think probably we continue the discussion and the speakers will join us as we progress. So if I go from the first question that we continue to see, this is based on various reports that we continue to come across from the UK government, from Innovate UK, some regional economic reports. African society and contribution continue or remain insignificant, and we continue to see most of our society not being a huge contributor in the economy. And the question here is how can we unlock the potential of the African community, taking into consideration that when you look around, you have quite a lot of well-educated professors, doctors, and doing amazing work. But however, economically, we are nowhere to be seen. How can we learn from our peers like the Jewish, the way they contribute, or the Asian community, for us also to become a driving force in the economy? I don't know if I can start from Ashiedu. and probably I pick on you. What's your thought? How do you think we can change this narrative, or what's the best way we can address this issue?
Thank you once again, Eugene. I feel so honored to be in the company of Stanley and Zainab, and I think I'll be hooking up with them after this to have some interesting conversations. So I think first of all, when we sort of look at the African community, which or the Africans in diaspora, which is a huge contributor to wealth creation in any nation or any economy that we actually reside. You're quite right in what you said, that we can't seem to see the overall cumulative impact of our achievements back on the continent of Africa, despite so many of us making great strides within, the Western world. And I think we sort of need to, personally, I think we need to look at it in several ways. One is around how we begin to develop potential so as to be able to get to unlock it. Because traditionally, we have barriers to developing potential. So I speak now as an African woman who read engineering at university. And at the time, I'm going back to the early 1990s, there were just 3 of us in the year, on the whole course from start to finish. Whereas if we took the same time period or the same time frame and extrapolated it to a Western economy, we would have found opportunities for the girl child or the less advantaged or less able individual to be able to develop. So they would have had things to stimulate their social environment. They would have had things to nurture them mentally, psychologically, emotionally, so that they are groomed and enabled to thrive in whichever line or aspiration which they take. So many of us, myself included, are first generation immigrants. And when we come here, we suddenly come into our own, where we begin to understand so many things that we perhaps have never really taken quite seriously or taken on board back in our natural and traditional environment. So opportunities are opened up, and to be able to tap into those opportunities, you have to understand the system in which you are operating. So first, I always say when I have this conversation, look, we need to understand who it is, we are targeting, and how it is we want to improve or influence that particular space in which we are, going into. So when you look at how we utilize the contributions we make across all sectors and the financial power which we cumulatively pull annually from the West into the African economy, it does not add up. That with all that expertise, with all the wealth, with all the knowledge, with all the connections, just look at this platform, for instance. We are 3 panelists who've never met each other, but somehow we have a unique connection, the improvement and the development of the African in the diaspora. That's fantastic. But if we didn't have such platforms, such forums where we could come together, we could network, we could rub minds, and we could share ideas between each other, we all continue to work in small silos. So I'm doing what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. Stanley's doing what he's doing, where he's doing it. So is Zainab. But collectively, suddenly, we both have a massive reach, a massive pull, because we attract different audiences, but different audiences with the same thing at the heart of it, the growth and development of Africa. So for me, it's about how do we ensure that all of our skills, our expertise, our knowledge, our wealth is channeled right. You know, we always say, you know, we Africans have this crab mentality. And I come away from it because I feel something has pushed that narrative to the fore. And unless we robustly reject it, it becomes our story, where wherever we go, people expect us to not be able to work as a collective. So you reference the Jews, you reference the Asian community, you reference, the Arab community, for instance. So these are communities which each and every one of us has experience, of working quite comfortably in as individuals. But what goes wrong when we come together as a collective? That's what we need to be looking at. It isn't that we haven't got what it takes. It is, why is it that when we come together as a group, an African group, and we say we always come together with one thing in mind, we seem to fall at the first hurdle. And I think it's about looking inwards, and that's it for me. It's about looking inwards. What is it about me that makes it difficult for me to work with Stanley or Zainab or even you, Eugene, honestly, openly? Why can't we have one goal and keep it as one goal and ensure that we achieve that one goal, achieve it well, and then build on the success of that?
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, it's a good point, and I'm sure you've been on our platform before, and the one thing keep coming up over and over is the African diaspora community. We don't collaborate, we don't patronize each other, like you say. We have, like, now on the panel 3, 4 of us doing different things. We didn't even know what others are doing. And is it that we don't go out there to look for our other communities, our sisters and brothers? And one of the things, quite often I get those kind of response when I go into the government and say, okay, we need their community also to be given some of these resources, opportunities. Can the council, the government will tell us, oh, we promote this in all the channels, your people don't turn up. I go in some meeting for tendering, we have like 150 people. There's only 2-3 Africans in there. There's like, oh, your people don't turn up. It's like, you can't, we're not going to go and find them where they are doing, where they are busy, either at home or whatever. Is it that we are not making the effort, or is it cultural issues that affect, or is it cultural, the diversity of our culture that is affecting us? What do you think, Ashied, before I go to Stanley and Zainabu to see if they agree with you?
I don't so much believe that it is the diversity of our culture. I mean, the African culture itself is beautiful. It is absolutely unique. It's like no other in the world. But when we start to, well, if we were to do a comparison or comparative study with any other cultural group, we find that the same differences exist. So you have the diversity in language, you have, the diversity of experience, variation in education and expectation and aspiration. We have all of those such as things. So, we even have the class system. So here they say, you talk about the elite, the middle or working class, and, those who are in the lower class. We have all of that within our African society or African culture. But I think it is about us being trusting of ourselves and of our ability to be in the same room, to be in the same space, and be gunning or working for the same outcome without trying to undermine each other. I think that has always been, in my experience, the biggest challenge. How can we ensure that when we sit together in the same room, we're all working together. Now, similar to you, I attend meetings, and it can be disconcerting when you get into the meeting and, you know, you've kind of blown the trumpet of your community to say, we will have, you know, I can see Stanley, you know, laughing, and Zainab, you know, smiling. You've blown the trumpet of your community and you say, we will have, you know, 50, 60 to 100 people turn up for this. And somebody like me, I spend time ringing people saying, we have to be there, we have to be united, we have to have this, we have to have that. And come on the night, at best you have a handful of people actually turn up. Yeah. You know, and when they do, they're not even interested in the bigger picture. It is in the now. What can we take away from now? Which is, you know, it doesn't do us any favors, because until we can start to build a legacy mindset, a legacy mentality, you know, which is what I like about the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, because I do follow some of, you know, the pieces that are put out there. He's not a man who I feel is ever going to benefit from all of the initiative that foundation spearheads. But those initiatives are for people like us, our children, and our children's children. But one person has decided that I will put my all, my talent, my influence. Again, it's how do we leverage influence? You know, I will leverage my influence, my network, my wealth, my knowledge, my talent into this thing to ensure that, you know, people like Zainab are well-resourced, well-enabled to utilize their passion, their skill, their education into developing programs and initiatives to benefit people that, you know, are not even known personally to him or the foundation. That is what we need to be looking to do as a people about legacy. A lot of what we enjoy in the West are legacies that people have passed down. We're enjoying family legacies. We're enjoying corporate legacies. We need to be looking to do that back on the African continent, but not just replicating what works in the West. We have to be doing for Africa what will work for Africa, but with legacy at the root of it.
Let me go to Stanley. Stanley, of course, you can hear, you are listening quite well some of the few things and key highlights from Ashied. Do you agree with her in terms of why our society, we are not contributing positively or as we should in the economy, or why do we not collaborate or patronize each other, support each other? Where do you think the gaps are, or are you aligned to what Ashiedo's experience, and what's your thoughts?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Ashiedo. That was fantastic. It was so great to hear such a fantastic insight. And again, I want to say thank you to SSCG and Eugene and the team for putting this together, because we need this. It's not something that we might need. We need this definitely. So there's a few points I just want to quickly make. For the picture that Madam Ashiedo was painting was right. We need to be thinking about legacy. Each and every one of us needs to be thinking about legacy. Now, for you to think about legacy, you have to make yourself vulnerable. So legacy comes with vulnerability, because our culture does not allow us to open ourselves to be vulnerable. Now, if you say you want to do something for your community, you've got to open yourself out to be vulnerable, because you will get attacks. You'll get negative feedback. You'll get people that don't see the full picture, and it's not theirs to see, you know. God or whoever is putting that vision in you has not given you that to make sure you're compliant with everybody else. So that's one thing. We have to be open to vulnerability if we want to achieve anything around legacy. Second thing is the stereotypical African person would think about the degrees, then the second degrees, then the masters, then at the end of it, we're still as poor as ever with all the education that we have. With the new economy now, it's not about the degrees that you hold, it's about the connections that you make. The most richest people in the world are not the ones with the degrees or the masters or the PhD. They're the ones with the best connections, the contacts, and how you use those relationships. So again, connecting with other people to bring about your vision is very, very important in the new economy. It's about building a new ecosystem. What I mean by a new ecosystem is that, I'll give you an example. We had a meeting this morning where one of my partners in Kenya connected with me to speak to one of our clients in Angola and trashing out a deal for an Angola company. Before people will say, you're Nigerian, what are you doing business in Angola for? But we're Africans. If I could solve the situation, a problem for a company in Angola, why not? The fact that I'm going to be paid handsomely, it's an icing on the cake for that situation. But it's about bringing new ecosystem together to say, listen, what do I have and what is the gap in my organization or in my skill set? How can I partner with Madam Asiedu or with Eugene at SSCG to make sure it completes me enough to move my agenda to the next level? One, without looking at what the gains are straight away. When I go into meetings, I listen, I say to people, listen, tell me what you want to achieve from this. And they're surprised. If I can go out of my way to meet your needs, 100% sure that I will be meeting mine. But we don't see things that way anymore. We need to sit back and say, how can I meet the needs of other people first?
Yeah.
In that sense, I will be meeting my own needs. It's biblical. It's the way that people have done business for ages. But nowadays, we just go into meetings, blabbing about what we want out of the meeting without even listening to what other people's needs are. So we need to change the way we work and create new ecosystems, new partnerships for us to make the change that we need to make. And the last thing I would just want to add about the stereotypical side of things. I'll give you an example. So I remember almost 5 years ago when I was building the organization, forming the companies, my mother, bless her, she's coming to this country, worked very hard, three jobs, 4 jobs, 2 houses, worked with London Underground. That's what she knows. And her vision for me was to join London Underground as a train driver, and the pressure was on. Let me get you into London Underground. They pay you 45K. And I'm like, Mom, 45K, that would, for her generation, that's a fantastic job. But we need to move away from that mentality of getting into a job, sitting in that for 30 years, getting a pension. We will make listen, I'm not criticizing. Not everybody could go into business and handle it. We need our doctors, we need our nurses, we need all of those services. But there's this stereotypical aspect of our parents pushing us into careers that are boxed, where it takes ages for you to now realize that this is not where I need to be. I've got these skills that I've learned from my family, from my businesses, from the world, even from colleagues at uni. That means that I can contribute more to what is happening in Africa or what's happening in my community, as opposed to just getting boxed in that job and staying there for the next 40 years, then realizing that, wow, my skills could have been used somewhere else. And that legacy has been missed just because we've been boxed. So our parents and our heritage as well need to take need to change their outlook. For my children right now, I tell them, listen, first degree, second degree, it's not about that. What can you contribute to your society? That's the first thing. That's how legacies are born. Just like the Ibrahim Mo Foundation, it's about what I can give, not what I can get. I'm sure this conversation will carry on later on.
Thank you, Stanley. Of course, you've highlighted quite good, some good points that I've also we share and I've come across a lot of in terms of to open to vulnerability. Of course, we all know that your network is your net worth. So we need to continue building the right network, which we're allowed to share opportunities, idea, and all those, and continue to grow as a community. So build the ecosystem. One of good example we are doing here in Birmingham, we recently launched a business chamber. It was not easy because we are still going against the odds, and there's quite a lot of people not happy about it. But we had to call on them the table and say, look, this community is always underserved. They are struggling. Why are you against this initiative that is likely to empower this community, these businesses? And so those, even beyond us, we have other challenges outside we are facing. So we were enemies within and at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. And you are right in terms of education. Of course, we've moved, the economy we are in now has moved away from too many degrees. It's about being more cultural intelligent, more emotional intelligent, being more streetwise. Know how many PhD you have, doctors and all those. Is how practically can you build the relationship in the workplace? How can you smartly make a decision? But one quick question before I go to Zainab is, do you think most of our community we are holding back and we are stuck in the past? We need a bit of mindset transformation, because quite a lot of time you find a lot of people you speak to, they are stuck in the past about issues that has happened, from colonialism to all this. And it's like, and we keep telling them, yes, you can understand life from the past, but you can only change it from the future. And in the past, you can know, we know so many people have spent 50 years trying to sort out some of these issues, and they are not going anywhere. Is it that we are stuck in the past, that we are forgetting to see the future ahead, or what?
Well, that's a good point. Yes, we all know what happened in the past happened in the past. You're right. And yes, most of our heritage, our parents are that came here to study, work. You know, they have a mindset of what they want their children to have or to be. The typical example, a young friend that I grew up with, we were 16 together in the area we grew up, attended the same kind of youth parties and everything. And I met him in 2012, and the way he was such an angry young man talking about colonialism, how they took our stuff and took our gold and slavery and all of those kind of things. Then I listened, but in my heart I felt this guy has been hearing from the wrong person. And this is now 2020. This guy has set up his own venture capitalist company, but it took us 8 years to change his mindset from where he was in 2012 to where he's now set up his own company, doing great work, by the way, in Ghana right now. He just set up a charity that goes and gives to orphanages. But you can imagine if he was still in that mindset of blaming somebody. If you keep blaming somebody, that means you're not ready to move on. You're not taking responsibility for your situation or for the situation of your people. It's easy to put the blame on somebody else, and you could carry on doing that for the next 50 years. Nothing is going to change. But when you now take responsibility and say, okay, what has happened is happened. This is where I am right now. This is where my community is. What can I, as a person, what can Stanley do as a person to change that, starting from where I am locally, in the country that I am, or in the country that I've come from. So responsibility has to be down to the individual to make that change. So yes, I agree with you that we're stuck in the past, but what's so frightening actually is that the next generation to us, they're fearless. I've seen some of these young Africans doing fearless stuff. You can see that through the music, through the movies, some of them signing contracts with Netflix, and they're not even 20 years old yet. So they're fearless in their attitude, they're breaking down the barriers. And whoever we think might be holding us back, they just want to make money as well. So it doesn't matter if you bring the idea or somebody else brings the idea, they will equally do business with you right now. In terms of moving their own agenda forward. We are needed. In this system, we're needed. So we should stop the blame game and start seeing how we fit into the puzzle and what we can bring to the table to contribute.
Thank you, Stanley. Zainab, of course, I'm sure you've been listening some of the key points from Ashiedu and Stanley in terms of the many things that's been going on around within our society from, I know I'm not going to go to, but all these things about blaming others and getting stuck in the past and not collaborating. Do you agree with Ashiedu and Stanley? What's your point? And what are the things I know you've been involved in Kwalo initiative? How has been your experience? What's your thought on from what the other speaker has mentioned?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Eugene, and thank you again for organizing this event. It's such a great meeting of the minds, because in many ways I agree with everything that's been spoken about so far, but I want to be a little bit of a devil's advocate. Look, it's really important that we acknowledge the continent's history, the the point that we've had independence now for over 60 years for most of the African countries, and yet we've got models that are, you can pinpoint which countries are doing well and which ones aren't. So there are spotlights of great governance models, like the Ibrahim governance, the Ibrahim Prize for Leadership aims to showcase those African leaders that have done phenomenal jobs in their countries to move their countries forward. But then at the same time, I think we can't shy away from having some of these very important conversations. Like recently in the news, there was a lot of talk about the Benin bronzes, what's happening with African heritage and art that's still in British museums. So you go and you pay money to see these. It goes into the economy here, and we're talking about participation in the economy. We need to look at what that means for the continent. Is it best to repatriate these, or is it best to set up a model that actually, you know what, some of the shares that go to the British Museum can also go in to some kind of program that supports where these art objects are coming from? Anyway, loads to talk about, loads to explore, but I think these are important conversations to have. And that's not to say that we're not acknowledging it's happened in the past, and we have to devise our own models and take ownership and move forward. Really interesting, this conversation about diversity. It's such a double-edged sword, if I can call it that. So we live in cosmopolitan cities, London, Leicester. We celebrate diversity. You have sushi today, jollof rice tomorrow, whatever. You're a global citizen. But when it comes to us as Africans, I find that sometimes when we organize, we're still in that kind of bucket of nationalities. So the Nigerian, like you were saying, Stanley, the Kenyan, the Ugandan, you're still organizing yourselves in those kinds of identities and organizations. And to be quite frank, it's just, we need to move forward for the continent to really transcend and to unlock potential. Look, African Union set out to do what? Bring the whole, the 54, 55 countries together with the African Free Trade Initiative, really open up borders, open up trade, and we must do that in the diaspora as well. So UK diaspora, but also UK connecting with the European diaspora. Our issues are similar, but different. You can say, the diaspora in the UK are a little bit further along when it comes to some of the challenges that are inherent in the societies that we face, which, we're talking about organizing, and we're talking about why do we have so many issues? Why don't we, why can't we see more success stories? On the one hand, I think we need to recognize that as individuals, we're also going through our own personal journeys. So whether you're a first generation, second generation, you've got some potentially socio-economic situations that you're navigating. So we know that in the United Kingdom, there are more potentially surface value, potentially genuine laws that allow you to, or rules, or diversity quota, or opportunities for you to get in and to participate in work, in politics, in different spheres. But that's not the same when you look at France. It's not the same when you look at Sweden. So we've got, from a host country, we've got some barriers that we need to identify and we need to tackle, and we actually need to do that collectively together. It doesn't affect only Nigerians. It affects Angolan diasporans. It affects Kenyan diasporans. So we have to come together to address these issues that first we're able to feed ourselves. Then we organize. And if we don't do that, it will be hard for us to really have this kind of collaborative spirit of let's push the development agenda on here in the UK, and let's really look at what we're doing on the continent and how we can really ramp it up. So Pan-Africanism, we need to revive that spirit. And COVID has shone the light. We can see, our girls all around the world, all around the continent are out of school. Teenage pregnancies on the rise. Domestic violence on the rise. So a girl in Nigeria suffering from this, a girl in South Africa suffering from this, we need to be able to say, this is not okay. And actually some of the interventions that we can do from the diaspora is, I can help set up this organization. I can help, via funding or via, I've got a big network. I know how the media machinery operates. I can help spread the word. I can help with some advocacy work around that. And I think, you know, when we talk about that legacy mindset, you know, success attracts success. So we do have some buckets of success around, but we need to celebrate that. We need to find the guys that are doing well. Organizations like OAN, I know it's been in existence for about 6 months, but you know, this thing that you're doing, let's get the word out. Let's have more people come, have conversations, give examples of the work that they're doing, and really make these kinds of platforms, these initiatives, have wings. You know, it starts with 6 months, then it goes to 1 year, then before you know it, you're having really proper structures that have more permanence, and that's how you get to building that legacy that we're talking about. So we must be active in celebrating that success, and in making sure that these initiatives are successful. So it was, you know, I was very happy that you invited me here, and I just wanted to say, shout out, good job, and may you continue with this space.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts now.
Thank you, Zainab. Of course, you've raised a very important question about nationalism. And if you see, I think we've tried to, when we started the One Africa Network, we were busy beating our heads trying to find a name that we could use. We find there's a Nigerian society, there's a Zimbabwe society, there's a Congolese society, Nigerian, we got Igbo society, so we could not find, so we say, oh, let's just call them One Africa Network, one society for all, because it looks like all the society are very represented, and this kind of brings a lot of differentiation, and it does not support working together and the collaboration. But one question I wanted to ask you, and then probably which hasn't been raised. One thing also keep coming from, we keep also seeing from our society, we don't trust ourselves. I've seen like quite a lot of our people, they are happy to go and spend. If I'm an accountant, I probably, if I tell Ashiedu I'm an accountant, I can do her accounting books, she will not be happy to come and patronize me. She will be happy to go and spend twice the money to another community. So we're not keeping the black pound within us. Is it that we don't trust ourselves, or is it that, why is it, I don't know, maybe someone else can help can add into that, which has been one of the biggest questions in terms of why do we find ourselves not patronizing our people? I don't know who wants to answer that.
I think two reports, two very critical reports came out this year. One in April and another at the end of June, July, I think. And both of them, the last one was called, first one is the color of money, and the other is called the color of power. And it looked at the financial sector, well, not sector, it looked at the financial impact, the cumulative impact of a range of communities. So white, Asian, you know, Chinese, African. It broke the communities down by ethnicity and looked at how wealth sat within each of the communities. The other report looked at power and influence. And it was interesting that the first report in April, called the color of money, said that for every pound in circulation, the Asian community managed to retain 70 pence, or just about 70, or just over 70 pence of it. And the Black community, which included the Black African and the Black Caribbean community, only accounted for 10p. So now, how can we, as a growing community, or a community that prides itself on our cultural diversity, our academic prowess, there's no global or world-class institution you name on the face of the earth that you haven't got an African seated there. And this is not an exaggeration. So, and I think I read a couple of years ago that by 2050, I think 20% of the world's population or thereabout or higher would be Black or Africans. So to have such great potential and great power, great talent, and great wealth seated within us as individuals and as a community, it was really heartbreaking to see that as wealth creators and wealth generators, we were so far off the scale, it was just pitiful. But when you flip the coin, we consume. We are one of the biggest consumers of high-end luxury goods. So how can we be people who have very little wealth retained for every pound we earn within our community, yet for every pound we earn or don't earn, we spend several multiples of that in goods that neither add value or add substance or sustenance or any kind of credibility to who we are or what we are about. So hence at the beginning I said we need to be clear about who we want to influence, why and how. So if you said to me, Eugene, you're an accountant and you want me to patronize your business, from a business perspective, I'm looking at somebody who is savvy, well knowledgeable, understands the ins and outs of accounting, how to advise me on the best ways to utilize my money, how best to invest, how best to save, and what to be looking out for. Now, if I cannot get that from you, because we tend to always downplay what it is we're trying to do. So I'll give you a good example. Now, COVID did some, for want of a better phrase, it actually wreaked havoc on communities, especially the Black and ethnic minority communities. Now, a lot of small businesses or business owners came undone or came unstuck because they couldn't demonstrate or evidence, their business through their books. And I say this as someone who has been approached, on several levels to say, I have this, can you probably, advise or represent or, And when you ask, okay, where are your books? Because you need to be able to evidence how your business has been impacted or affected. But because there's been a lot of sharp accounting practices, and a couple have said to me, my accountant advised me to, and I'm thinking, how can an accountant who is a fellow Black person, who should understand how and the importance of keeping books, watertight, give you advice that will never put you at an advantage before the tax man? You are always on the short end of this stick. But, they say, oh, don't do this and don't do that. But when I go to my accountant, who is not Black, not African, he sits me down, I should do, this is it, this is it, this is it. And this is what will work best for you. It might cost you a little in the short term, but in the long term, this is how it will benefit your business. But we always want the quick fix. So where you are seeking quick fixes, you cannot and will not be in a position or in a place to attract credible clients or even leverage your opportunities for wealth creation, which is what, you know, Stanley and Zainab have talked about, not just alluded to. So we need to get to this place where we are not just looking at how does it benefit me now? How can my current situation, how can I ensure that if I'm taken out of the business and my son or my daughter or somebody steps in, the business will continue to run, you know, equitably and profitably with or without me being there. This is why a lot of African business, if the owner dies, the business dies. Because we build for today, we build for me, not, you know, for generations to come.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think what you just touched, I think, is what Stanley mentioned about building a legacy. We don't think about building a legacy when you engage some of our community. They want to cut corners, and before you realize we are actually undermining our good work and such kind of thing. Before I go to the second question, I can see Tommy Tope on the phone. Welcome, Tommy Tope. I don't know if you've been listening to us for the last 1 hour. Some of the many things has been raised in terms of why our communities and do not move forward or contribute positively in the society or in the economy at large. What's holding back to what's your thoughts? What's your experience? We lost you.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear now.
Okay. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I apologize that I couldn't join in earlier. I was stuck on the A2 motorway, so that's the reason.
Okay.
It seems to have
For
lost
my
it.
absence, I do apologize. Earlier contributors is looking at it from. Oh, can you? Okay. Yeah. My experience is from both within government and out of government, because I worked in government for at least for 9 years, and I had the privilege of taking some of our colleagues, you know, to meet with, you know, ministers, you know, in government.
Okay.
In order to pave way for them. Business, we are too individual.
I think, tell me, we are struggling.
Yeah, I
with
think he's having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear, but we're struggling. You keep cutting.
Oh, okay. I do apologize. So what I'm saying is that one of the challenges we have as a community is that our approach is too individualistic, and just like somebody, somebody made the comment about the village mentality. You know, we keep everything inwards, so you can't hear of a solicitor farm that has been over 100 years within the African community, rather very more than 50 years. You know, so one of a viable business, a viable business within the community that is known to government. So, for example, government will not engage with us if we don't have the economic power. And one of the challenges is that we all stay in our cocoon, but we want to do our own thing, drive our own Mercedes Benz, and we think life is okay. But in order for our children to be able to really benefit from the potential that we have in our community, we need to start thinking collectively. If not because of pandemic, almost every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people are dressed in their ashwebi, which is the collective cloth, and they are spending thousands of pounds. That money is going into other communities, not within our community. We don't even have a hall to our name. We don't even have diasporans out so that people can use their weddings, that can use for birthday parties and things like that. But more importantly, I think one of the areas that I think we should also look into more frequently post COVID-19 is engagement with government. Because one of the things that SSCG is doing, which is great, is that you're bringing great minds together and you're looking at how things should be done properly. And I think with this, a lot of people are queuing in. But what we now need to do is to be able to have a seat in the corridors of power, to be able to use our influence and our skills to engage with government, because government is ready to listen to us. If, for example, SSCG says we want to meet with the Minister for Africa, they will give us audience, and then you could take the right people there so that when they are going on an official trip to Africa, they could take members of the communities with them, just like they do with the the Israeli community that are lobbying. One of the things we don't have is a lobbying group. We don't lobby. I've hardly had, okay, yes, we have all parliamentary group for Africa in the House of Parliament, but how many times have they called SSCG or called anybody to say, come and give us your view about, what is happening in our community, come and give a written report? They don't, and that's because we've not made ourselves very relevant. So we need to start thinking of how can we make ourselves relevant for this season, because we can't put new wine in old sack. It will erupt. We need to put new wine, new ideas into a new system, because the old system is gone, whether we like it or not. We need to adjust ourselves to the new system of doing things, new way of doing things. The corner shop that is so dirty, so dark, that people can only go in there to buy yam and rush out very quickly because it's not spacious, it's not attractive, it's not welcoming. We need to start helping our businesses to start making themselves more attractive, more user-friendly, and they need to start engaging in networks, because most of them just do their work 9 to 5, 9 to 10. They don't think of how to improve themselves. Just like my sister earlier mentioned about people cutting corners, and they're cutting corners with their accounting because they feel, oh, they want to make the money for today. They want to eat today and they're not thinking of tomorrow. But if they have organizations like yourself and other network that is telling them the benefit of having a proper accounting, not just because of you paying your tax, but because of the benefit that it accrues to your organization, the status of your organization, we need to go out there and do that evangelical work with our community, so that all our kids that are running around killing themselves will not need to do that when there are viable organizations that can even take them on board to work in the estate agent, to work in a dentist, to work in the solicitor farm, to work in big shops. So that is exactly what I think I believe is relevant for this season. If we're serious about unlocking our potential, then we need to build very big, very great networks that could serve the community and build the community economic power.
Thank you, Temitope. I think that takes us to the next question, actually, which is looking how can we change mindset and support our community to become more entrepreneurial, set up business, especially make ourselves relevant and in the society and the focus on economic solution. I believe Stanley has already shared one of the examples, so it would be good to learn from him. What did you do to the guy that you spent 8 years trying to convince him to change the mind? What is anything we can learn that we can use from to other community? Because sometimes we try to even invite our people, let's say, come we talk business, they don't turn up. But when you tell them, let's come with party, or come, they are there in the numbers, or come we talk about football, how Arsenal yesterday won, all these things that do not add value, they come in the numbers. But when you talk about, let's see how we create economic solution that will make relevant us relevant in the society. Then even the government will want to hear us. They don't turn up. What can we do? Let me start with Stanley. Maybe he has some good practical solution that we can probably take away and utilize.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Olulu. Thank you very much. So you've made some fantastic points. What I could say to that is that the first thing that we must do is listen. If somebody is telling you about the past and what's happened in the past, that's their reality. You listen. You take the time to listen to what they have to say. Some of them, sometimes when I'm listening, it's jarring me up, it's tearing me up inside, but I have to listen. Unless you listen, you cannot come from a place of understanding. So because they've got to that point, something has happened, something has been told to them, somebody's told them things. So you listen, and then I summarize to them to say, listen, I hear what you say. So you're saying these things. Okay, let me tell you my story. My story is that I landed in this country at 14, at 6'6". Where I have come from, they call me Dongo. Dongo is the expression that you're too tall and useful for nothing. But as soon as I got into the classroom, I had six teachers in the same school fighting for me to be on the football team, on the volleyball team, on the cricket team. So somebody's uselessness is another person's value. Yeah. So you try to help them at where they're at to say, what value do you think you could add right now that can change this situation that you're thinking about right now? Because you're not adding any value with all this negativity and everything that you're talking about. There's no value whatsoever. So you could shout till heaven comes. Nobody's going to hear you. But as soon as you have something valuable to bring to the table, people will start listening to you. People pay for value, you know. So I tell them where I'm coming from. This same person that I'm talking about now is an investor in 3 or 4 different businesses in Africa. It's an investor. He's paying wages to people in Africa right now. This is this same person. So yes, it might have taken all these years to work on it, but the results will definitely change. We have to be patient. We have to listen to where they're at, to their gripes, to their emotional needs. Then we have to listen, find examples to them to say, listen, this is how I did it. Or look at this person, for example. Do you think they go around complaining about the situation? What it is that you have right now that you could bring to the table? For example, start as a volunteer, volunteer your skills for another African business. You know, there's one of the businesses that we set up in Africa called Startup City. This business was set up last year in September. This business is paying wages right now in Africa. And this young man is one of the investors in the business. There's another lady that I met, works in security, and I told her about the things that we're doing. And every month she invests in that same business. Now, from her salary, she invests in a business in Africa. There's something everybody can do now. You don't have to wait and say, oh, until I get big or what. Listen, we pack a punch when we come together to do things. Startup City is thriving in Africa now, paying wages because 2 people from the UK invested a joint sum of less than £2,000 to set up a business in Africa that is thriving, that is now going to go across Africa doing things. It's about using an initiative and coming together. What do you have to bring to the table? If it's not valuable to me as a business, I might know somebody else that would need it as a business so that we join things together. Yeah. And do not wait, do not say, I want to be paid for it now. That's not how it works. There's this mentality that quick wins. If I start now, this is how I get my money. No, it takes time. It's like, I use this example all the time. I say, listen, relationship is like marriage. I courted my wife for almost 20 years before we got married. Not because that's on me, don't worry about it. That's a conversation. So before we got married, but still, we've been married now for 16 years, celebrated anniversary, 17-year anniversary a few days ago. But still, we're still learning about each other. We're learning about the do's and don'ts as we grow, as we mature. Relationship takes time. Relationship between NIG, SSCG will take time. Relationship with any of you and your accountant, the relationship takes time. The relationship you had when you started with your accountant is not the same one you're going to have 3 years down the line. But people are so quick to dump and just leave a relationship and run away and go start up another one because it's cheaper. Oh, this person is offering me a cheaper deal, I'm going to go. How about the relationship, the understanding that that person is giving your company? They've listened to you, they understand how you think. My accountant knows how I think. He's the one that calls me now to say, Mr. Stanley, you haven't done this thing. because he knows how I work. My goal is still focusing on that. That's his job to focus on that. My goal is focusing on running the business. Relationship takes time. So we have to train the next generation that whatever you're going to do that is going to be good has to take time. It takes time to develop a good footballer. It takes time to develop a good business. It takes time. Nothing's going to happen overnight for you. If anybody is telling you that, either in the churches or in real life, it's a lie. It takes time to develop good things. Good things take time. Marriage, friendship, it takes time to develop.
So what I pick from you, probably three things, is about bold decision, use success stories like to convince some of these people how they learning from others, how people have made it also to convince them to change. And of course, build the relationship, not to jump around. Ashiedu and Zainabu, do you agree that those are the best practical way we could convince our society to think about economic solution to make us become more relevant in the society and create value, or what do you think?
Yes, thank you. I mean, this is a really an interesting panel discussion we're having. Thank you so much, Stanley, for that. Just to sort of follow through with from where Stanley was, because as he was talking, I was just sort of making some quick mental notes, and he rightly highlighted relationships and value creation as being, you know, some of the key or fundamental building blocks for unlocking potential or building capacity within our different communities. But I'm just going to add further to say that for those particular building blocks or foundational keys to actually be meaningful and relevant to us as a people, they usually manifest in several ways, and I'm just going to go through them, some of the ways. And they would manifest themselves through our leadership or leadership teams. And Zainab at the start talked about, you know, governance and leadership as some of the key areas of improvement within not just the diaspora now, but on the continent of Africa. Now, to be able to lead in a value-driven way, we have to be able to empower people. And we can empower through access to opportunities or by actually creating those opportunities ourselves. So we're not waiting for when the government says we have a pot of money to fund 2 posts, and then each of us on the platform decide to send out hundreds of emails to all our contacts and say the government is recruiting. And we know that there's only 2. So what do we do as a collective? We can all sit together and say, you know, just like Stanley highlighted, are we able to, between ourselves, fund another 2 posts so that we get a bit more? And once we can demonstrate that actually there is skill, there is capacity, and there is the willingness and motivation to build capacity and initiative, we are able to grow that existing 2 posts the government is saying now to get them to extend it to 4. And we just carry on the support until we get to a place where we have enough openings for as many people as want to go in. It also manifests itself through our education and training programs. So we throw out this thing where we have this mindset of, I just carry on any professional qualification going. I'm just going to enroll for it and get as many letters and as many God knows what after my name. And a lot of them are absolutely useless. So I see CVs where people have, you know, told me on the CV, all the different courses they've done. Every single year they have like 3 or 4 professional things they're doing. And when I come to drill down as somebody on the shortlisting panel, I cannot see the relevance of any of these things they're doing to what it is they want to be going into. We just go collecting these things because we think if I reel as many of these things off, I sound or look intelligent. No, you don't. It's about, you know, what can you do? And what is your ability? What can you bring to the table? How much value or what value do you bring to that particular, you know, dynamic or that relationship or that establishment or that business? And then we also look at the manifestation through solutions. You know, how do we, you know, prefer solutions to ensure that they're not one size fits all? It comes back again to the question of, you know, diversity and inclusion. Are we truly diverse in an inclusive way, or are we diverse because, you know, we have to just tick a box and say we are diverse because we have 2 women in the midst of men, you know, and so we come from different parts of Africa, therefore we are representative. But are we truly representative in the true sense of the word? Are we driving the actual agendas, or have we just come on because it's nice to have us all here saying, I'm from Nigeria, you know, I'm from Kenya, I'm from Congo, I'm from Zimbabwe, I'm from Botswana, I'm from Lesotho. We all come into this whole melting pot of, you know, African diaspora discussion, and we look nice and we talk nice and we go away. But what do we really do with our drive for value creation and relationship building or networking or leveraging our influence, you know, circles of influence? How and what are we doing with it? How do we ensure that when we leave this platform, 4 of us don't just go our merry way because, well, it is nice to have seen all of you, met all of you, and we go away? Do we carry on this discussion, even if not on a daily basis, but do we touch base with each other now and again and say, hi, how are you? What are you up to? You know, like Stanley said, can I get on board whatever you're doing, even if it's just to volunteer 1 hour of my time to sit in on a Zoom call to say, I have this expertise and I'm ready to leverage it to give it for free, so that that project, that initiative you're looking to develop will go 1 step further. Now, we want our names always on the plaque, on the wall. We can't grow that way. We're not going to go as far as we want to go, chasing shadows. We want the celebrity, we want the fame. A lot of these people, I go again to some, you know, the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, because that is one thing that we can all visualize right now. That man has done so much within the African continent that if some people are benefiting from initiatives and programs that they don't even know are part of his brainchild, part of his legacy network. And this is how we have to go through a total, you know, mind shift and mindset reorientation of what is it that we're looking for as Africans and Africans in the diaspora. What do we want? What do we want to create? And who is it we want to build for? Do we just want to build for ourselves, our small communities, or do we really want to build a global entity that our children, our children's children, and you know, the rest of the world will sit comfortable in, knowing that people invested without the expectation of an immediate reward? I think that's the key.
Well, it's a good point. Of course, you mentioned about a few things that unfortunately we are running of the time. But one thing that keep coming out, I'll give Zainabu also to say something. But one thing keep coming out, and now Africans are being challenged, is the amount of time Africans spend in church. If they were going to use the same effort to build businesses, we could be economically powerful. If you look how many African churches we have and how much time Africans are spending in the church, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of them don't even have jobs. Some of them, we could be powerful if that effort was being channeled in a business. So this discussion has been coming up in the last few months and years to say, how can we change that mindset I think one thing you mentioned, shared is of course somehow also continue to affect our community. Quite a lot of people don't have they don't have a vision. I don't know, they've lost hope. Somehow they don't know what they want. They're just there. They're just tagging along with the system, and it's difficult sometimes to support someone who doesn't even know what they want. Losing hope is quite difficult. What's your thoughts, Zainab, and then we can just lap up. What would be the best way we can create economic solution to empower our community?
I think actually, Mr. Olodu, Stanley, Ashedu, you've said a wealth of you've basically said a wealth of things that would go a long way.
You're very faint, Zainab. We
Oh,
can't
wow.
hear you.
Okay, how about now? Is it better? I don't know what's wrong
Yes.
with my
That's
sound.
better.
Okay, I'll just have to hold.
Yeah.
Stanley mentioned about empathy. It's really important to listen and to really acknowledge a person's journey and experience so far, and then start there. Let's try to shift that mind and make it into a positive, an affirmative. We can get to success, because actually a lot of our communities have had bleak experiences. So if you feel dispirited, look, the glass ceilings, loads of us are facing glass ceilings in the workplace, or loads of us are facing police harassment. We all know too well about what's happening with Black Lives Matters. It's bringing all of these issues to the fore. But for generations and for years, whether you're first generation or second generation, you've been facing this. So it's important that we hear each other and we hear our starting point, and then pivot and think collectively we can make a change. I think we were talking about some services that we've basically procured or experienced from Black businesses. And sometimes the standard is just not good enough. So it's good to have a space where we can be honest and say, look, this is a great idea. The first few months of opening was fantastic. Then the standard went down. So we have a lot of work to do around professionalizing our services and around maintaining a standard. You start as you mean to go forward, and you really think about a strategic. I don't want to just be here for 1 year and then gone. It's about the long haul. So it's about that, building that legacy. And I think as an African diaspora, one of the things that we can definitely tangibly do is celebrate Black excellence. So I know my tailor, I know my caterer, I know my event planner, whatever it is that is excellent. I'm going to start a directory of Black excellence. So add your names. Let's say if you're looking for an accountant, here is this person that I've used, and that's really good. So these are some of the initiatives that we can actualize, we can turn into practice. And this is a way of building, because we know all too well, we've been recipient many times over of some of the, let's call it what it is, shoddy services. And we should have better. And there are those that are delivering good services, but because of this experience where you procure services from a Black business, it's not quite to the standard that you expect, or the standard has slipped, you move on to something else.
Yeah.
And it is a problem, because if we don't patronize each other, if we don't patronize ourselves, who will? Already the kind of mindset, the narrative around Africa and Black and all that we represent has been negative for so long. You look at when I introduced myself, I talked about I'm a lover of reading and literature. Look at any kind of metaphor or simile in any novel, you see Black is always pejorative. And we need to be the ones to actively shift that, because actually Black is beautiful and we do have expertise and excellence. And it's really being proactive and making making concrete, deliberate decisions about procuring Black services that are of good quality, and let the person know, I will recommend you because you're good. And that can be an incentive for that person to continue to be good. At least that's what has been my practice. I was, before COVID, I was in Kano. I come from Kano, Nigeria. And I went to the oldest market that has been in existence since the 15th century. It's called Kaswa Kurmi. So interesting. End of day, it's a spice market, going from shop to shop, store to store. The front face for the market, for the store, is an indigenous local person. But at the end of the day, the person that's going around collecting the day's taking is a Chinese person. So you have local businesses totally dislocated. You don't own businesses. You don't, I mean, you're not the boss of the boss of the boss of your workplace. How are you going to have that? How are you going to build that legacy? So we've got a long way to go, but we have to acknowledge where we are right now, which is the standard needs to go up. And then we have to, the excellent services that we get, let's basically patronize those and make sure that we give those Black excellence a spotlight, Black services, some lease of life.
Yeah. That's a good point you've raised. I think we'll bring this discussion again in next month and continue to challenge our mindset, how we can grow and whatever. But it's a good point you mentioned that if we don't exploit our potential, other people will exploit us. And we are seeing it either in Africa, either here, where we are, all the opportunities around us, we are not benefiting or we are not maximizing it, but other communities are busy benefiting from it. Probably before I ask everyone to give 2 minutes of a wrap up, I want to give you a challenge and see probably if you revert to your words that you mentioned. I know Stanley was the champion about volunteering and Ashiedu, and so part of One Africa, one of the things we plan to do in the coming months is to create an African Excellence Award, and also we'll be highlighting annually top 100 African leaders in the UK that are doing excellent work. So part of spotlighting those people, and we would like people to volunteer to support us in one way or another, how we can achieve this vision, to be able to also celebrate our success and our excellence in the society. So if anybody wants to volunteer from the people on the panel, that would be good. Hopefully Stanley will be the first one who says people should be volunteering.
So I've dropped my email on there, just as we were saying that somebody asked that they don't have contact details. I've dropped my email there for everybody to have. You can reach me. I'm very accessible. You don't have to go through 2 or 3 people to reach me. You can reach me directly. If I cannot help, I can find somebody else that can help.
Yeah, definitely. That would be good. And I think we've run out of time. If you don't mind, 3, 4, 5 minutes, if you can give us your last 2 words, based on so many and not so many things has been talked about, and we are going to write a summary report and share it out, some of the key things. But if I start with Ashiedu, what are the 2 things from this discussion? How can we unlock our potential in this society? I know there's a few questions that has been raised. One is about how can we lobby the government, and I think Temitope raised it about if we don't make ourselves valuable, the government will not be keen to hear from us. And there's another question about leadership and in Africa about corruption, and probably in the future we want to challenge Mo Ibrahim to maybe start giving the governance awards to people in the UK. I know a couple of times they failed to find someone in Africa. Probably it's an opportunity to look outside the continent. I'm sure there's good leaders in the UK, African leaders who can get that award. It doesn't have to be African in Africa. So a few points, I think they've been covered, the question, practical things to lobby the government. So I think most of the question has been addressed through the discussion. So if it's just to wrap up, if everyone can give 1 or 2 minutes, 2 key things that can help us to empower our community, especially take into consideration, we go COVID impact, we go recession around us, we go Brexit, many uncertainties in the pipeline. How can we make ourselves relevant?
So two key points from me as a wrap up, because I'm conscious that we've overshot by time. The first is that as a people, so individually, collectively, both here in the diaspora and the African continent, we need to begin to intentionally build and engender trust. because to unlock potential, whoever it is that we are negotiating with needs to trust that we are able to do as we say we will do, and we are capable of utilizing that potential, that capacity that we have built up for the good of all, not the enrichment of some. And secondly, it's about creating opportunities by leveraging our circle of influence. So the more of us that come together to give willingly and freely of our resources, of our time, of our knowledge, of our skill, of our wealth, the more opportunities there will be for us to lift up people through our service. Because one of the things, the beautiful thing about leadership is that if you understand leadership, it is that you are in a position of servitude to build up, rather than you are in a position to dominate. And that's how we've always misunderstood it, you know, as Africans, that when you become a leader, you are there to dominate. We're not here to dominate. As leaders, we are in positions of servitude because we are given the mandate to build up so that after us, people can run with the vision. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Ashiedu. Stanley, how can we make ourselves relevant in this society?
All right, two words for me. The first one is legacy. Everybody needs to start thinking about legacy. I don't care if you're a cleaner, if you're a manager, if you're an accountant. Think legacy. What does that mean? What can I leave behind? Yeah. In my capability, my what I've learned in this life. What can I leave behind? What can I do for somebody else? Then the second one, as Ashedo said, service. How can I serve other people instead of serving myself? You'll serve yourself for 30, 40 years, and at the end of it, you look back and regret that you haven't served anybody else. How can I serve people? And so the challenge to all of us is legacy. What am I going to leave behind? Let me leave a bit of my knowledge, a bit of my expertise behind for somebody else to use. And secondly, who can I serve? Look for people to serve. Where you're at, is he a soup kitchen? Is he a homeless shelter that you can go to? Who can I serve right now? That's the place to start. It doesn't have to be an African initiative. Yes, we'll love it if it was, but it starts from a place of that behavior that I'm willing to give myself to something else that does not pay me back. As soon as you start that, then you can now expand it into the African initiative that's happening. But start from that place. Who can I get into my organization to work as a volunteer so that they can get the experience that they need? Just start something today. And that's a challenge for all of us.
So two key things: legacy, serve others to make an impact or influence change. Zainabu, what are your two key things to make ourselves relevant or empower ourselves to?
I'm smiling because what I'm about to say is really supporting and echoing what Ashedu and Stanley said, but I'm framing it a little bit differently. We need to get to a place of basically we need to get to a place of selfish enlightenment, which is basically, it serves me if I serve you. So we need to get that. And really let COVID be a reminder of how connected we are. We are only as strong as the weakest link. So this whole notion of we are an African diaspora needs really to unite us. We are one people. And, you know, Nigeria's success is South Africa's success, is Kenya's success, is Congo's success. Yeah, so that's my message, but framed slightly differently.
Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, we can't help others when we can't help ourselves.
Yeah, but know that when you help yourself, it's in your interest to help others. So
it's the interest of helping. Yeah. So it's in the same context. You have to value yourself before others can value you. Temitope, we didn't get to hear much of you, but what would be your last two things, or how do you see we can become relevant in this society and empower others and empower ourselves?
Yeah, I think I think I have to align with highlight that 73,000 businesses were set up in this pandemic period. But yet, our organization, just like one of my sisters said, have not put in place the relevant governance, relevant structure. So, yes, we can be selfish, you know, in the way we do things, but we need to now start looking at how we can help most of this our community who are building or starting up business. Let's volunteer. Let's do a lot of voluntary work. I know it's painful sometimes that you offer services to people and they rubbish it, but let's make it a post-COVID what do you call it resolution that we will try and help maybe 5 or 10 businesses. Even if they did not ask for it, we say to them, you know what, I'm an expert in this field. Like my area is business security. I can help you to put in place the appropriate things, and I'll just come in maybe once a week to just come and help you and put those things in place. And I think if we start doing that, and just like one of my sisters said from Kanu, if we now we develop a system where we recognize and appreciate excellence, then I think we'll be on the right path, to create and build a
Yeah, I think.
sustainable community.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Temitope. If I understand you, maybe first let's not let a good crisis go into waste. So this is a good opportunity, a crisis that
Yes.
can help our community to pivot and transform. And as you said, 73,000 businesses created. I hope there's many of them African or Black that are going to benefit from all this. And unfortunately, I've taken more than I was supposed to, 15, but it has been a very inspiring, thought-provoking discussion. I've learned a lot, and I'm going to try to digest it, and we're going to write a report, and hopefully in 2 weeks' time it will be available. We can share it across, and it seems like a very interesting topic, and we're going to bring it again and also continue to debate on this area to see how we can create practical solution to help us become better in a society and become more relevant in this economy. So thank you so much. I don't want to take more time. It's been amazing, and look forward to continue talking with you maybe outside, and we don't want to take more time. And thank for our audience who've been listening patiently. Unfortunately, we can't take any more questions, quite a few pending, but have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, bye everybody. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. God bless you all.
I will share your contact. You can get to know each other. And then
excellent.
Continue to collaborate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We will.
Okay,
All right. Take care.